Here is an introduction to trigger point testing and myofascial release. I'll be using a foam roller as well as some massage balls, but that's all you need. If you have any health conditions, check with your doctor before trying this, and that's pretty much it. Let's get started. The first and most important thing when doing any kind of trigger point testing or myofascial release is your breath. So deep diaphragmatic breaths where you're expanding your entire torso and contracting your torso. So it's not belly breathing, and it's not chest breathing. It's my entire torso all the way around that is expanding and contracting. The reason why this is so important is because if you're holding your breath, you're holding tension in your muscles, and we're defeating the whole purpose of what we're trying to do, which is release the tension in our muscles. We're gonna get started today with the foam roller on the glutes. So you're just gonna sit on the foam roller. And what we're doing is we're looking for tight areas. So the first and primary thing we're doing is trigger point testing, meaning we're looking for muscles in the body that are tight. And a tight muscle is just a sign of tension. A trigger point is just a group of muscle fibers that are contracted, habitually contracted and creating tension. So you're gonna start on your glute max. So sitting your butt on here, and you're just gonna go all the way to the top of your hip bone and then down to the bottom of your hips. And we're just looking for anything tight. If it's particularly tight, you would relax and hang out there. We start with a foam roller because it's less intense. Once you've done your glutes, if this is super intense for you, then you would stay here for as long as you need to relax that muscle while breathing deeply. Once you've checked your glutes, if they're not too tight, then we're gonna move on to the side. So we'll go to the glute medius, glute minimus, which is right on the side here. And usually this is very tight for people, especially those with back pain. Again, we're breathing deep. I roll around first to try and find what's going on. I want to become aware of how my body feels. But once you find a tight area, you're gonna relax there. And you would check both sides. And you could spend upwards of 10 or even 20 minutes in a spot. There's really no limit. The thing that we want to limit is intensity. So you don't want to be in a position that's so painful, you have to hold your breath and squeeze. You want to be able to breathe deeply. And the trigger point should not be more than, say, a 7 out of 10 intensity. If this is easy and you don't really feel much with the foam roller, we would upgrade to a lacrosse ball. I like to use 1 or 2 or even 3. And again, I'll put it on the glute. So you can start with your glute max. This will probably be really intense for some people, especially if you store a lot of tension in your glutes. But you start with the glute max. Then we go to the side and check out the glute medius minimus. Again, this is usually very tight and intense for a lot of people. Make sure that you're not holding your breath, you're breathing deep. So that is the glute max and then the glute medius and minimus. If you notice that you're very tight in these areas, make a note. That's an area you would want to focus on relieving tension. Next spot is we're going to check out the abdomen and the iliopsoas. So we're going to use a baseball. You could use a lacrosse ball. For most people, just lying on your stomach is going to be enough of a release. This is going to be intense for a lot of people in the ab muscles, especially because we obsess over having six-pack muscles. So most people overtrain their superficial ab muscles. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this baseball, I'm gonna place it right under my abdomen. And so I'm just moving around my body. I'm moving this baseball all the way around my abdomen, being careful that I'm not anywhere that doesn't feel good, anywhere that feels unsafe or dangerous. I don't wanna feel my pulse. I don't wanna feel any pain that doesn't feel good. And you're just gonna breathe and relax. You can come all the way down, you can stay there. If you notice that this is almost unbearable, then make a note of it. Now there are things that you can use for the psoas, like, let's see, I have this as a pso-right, but I don't actually recommend these. I think they're a little bit too intense, and I don't think it's necessary. So instead of using this, I recommend just using a ball or a baseball or a softball and place it just to the side of your rectus abdominis, your six-pack muscles, and right on the inside of your hip. That can kind of help to work into the psoas. You're not really going to be getting direct contact, but I don't think direct contact is necessary. So you're checking out this whole area, everywhere in your stomach, your abdomen. You're laying on your stomach. If you notice that something is particularly tight, make a note of it. Next is we're checking out your back muscles. So for the back muscles, we have a bunch of options, starting with the foam roller. I would say generally foam rolling the lower back is not totally necessary, but the mid and upper back is very necessary. So start by laying on this foam roller as long as there's no pain. Nothing should be super painful. And then you're just going to breathe deeply and let gravity do the work. You might feel a stretch in your chest, in your mid-back. Try to avoid overly flaring the ribs, as this will just be in the lower back. So think about keeping your ribs down a little bit. And we're just checking out your mid-back. This is an art, not a science. So if this feels really good for you, make a note. Dang, that mid-back thoracic region is tight and it feels really good when I foam roll. Cool, then make a note of that and focus on that. We're gonna go from here, we're gonna turn to our side, and we're gonna get our lats or right under the armpit area. Be careful not to dig in too deep into your armpits, as there's some sensitive areas there, but we're focused on the armpits. Again, if you find a tight spot or sensitive spot, you're just gonna breathe and relax. We're going through the whole body to see where your body stores tension so that we can release that tension. And it just gives you greater awareness. Cool, so that's the lats. You can rotate all the way to the chest. And for the chest, I'm gonna get the other side. For the chest, I recommend getting this arm all the way up and around and almost behind you and breathing. And the best recommendation I could give you for trigger point testing is play around. Move and try to see what you feel. What feels tight? Oh, that's a really tight spot. Okay, breathe. Right here under the ribs or on the ribs, there are muscles, the serratus anterior, even just your rib muscles, your intercostals. Those can be really tight on some people. So make a note. Get a diagram of a human being and circle areas that are tight on your body. Cool, so that's chest, that's back. If we want more intensity with the back, we can use lacrosse balls. We can also use something like this contraption where we're able to more dig into certain areas. Right, and just applying a little bit of tension or pressure, probing around your body, around your back, what feels tight, what feels tense. Being careful to avoid overly sensitive areas or bones. Cool, that's your back. TFL and quadriceps. We're gonna get the foam roller again. You're gonna lay on your stomach, and I'm going to focus on one leg at a time. I'm going to go all the way up into the hip, so we start closer to the hip and then we move farther away. And I'm going to roll slightly to the side, so it's like I'm foam rolling the front corner of my hip, the TFL, tensor fasciae lata muscle. And you're gonna go slightly up and slightly down, maybe rotate your hips left or right, until you find a sensitive area, if there is one, in which case you're gonna breathe deeply. And make a note of what you feel. Again, checking the other side, same thing. I bring this leg up, I move the foam roller to the side, I twist my hips slightly, so I'm getting the front right corner of my hip in this example. And if I find something tight, I stay there and I breathe. And you can feel free to lie all the way down. But we want to test. So is this area tight? Make a note. And then to release this tension, we want to breathe and think about breathing into that muscle. So that's the TFL. For the quadriceps, I'm just gonna go up and down. You can start with both legs if you want. All the way up, be careful not to roll anything too sensitive, and down. And you're just looking for sensitive areas. Oh, cool, that's kind of sensitive. I'm gonna breathe and relax. So if I were making a note of this, I would say mid quadricep, there's some tension there. You can also roll this to the side, move the foam roller to the side and just get one leg. If you notice that an area of your body is super tight, it means that you're overusing that area of your body. So it's good to make a note. Cool, TFL quadriceps. Next is adductors. So I'm gonna lay parallel to the foam roller. I'm gonna get my leg up to about 90 degrees, and then I'm gonna go starting close to my hip, close to my groin. I'm gonna breathe and go in and out and just kind of investigate, how does this feel? You can also play around with bringing your foot up or down. For a lot of people, the inner thighs are super tight, so make a note. And you're just gonna breathe and relax. Same thing on the other side. That's how you would foam roll your inner thighs. Posterior shoulder. We kind of already did this with back, but for the back of our shoulder, especially the rotator cuff area, a lot of people store tension. So I'm going to lay on the ground with this right at the back of my shoulder. Being careful to avoid overly sensitive bones, but for a lot of people, this will feel really good because we store a lot of tension in the back of the shoulder, especially any dudes who are doing a lot of bench pressing. You can often store tension here. And just look for the muscles. You don't have to be an expert in anatomy to know, okay, this area is tight. And then feel it and notice it, and what's the relation to the bone? Is it above or below this bone? And then try to identify which muscle it is. Obviously, if you work with an expert, it'll be easier to identify particular areas, but get a diagram of a person, make a note where you feel tension. That's the back of the shoulder. Last one is just feet and calves. So I'm gonna stand up, but you're gonna lose my face. But you're just gonna stand on lacrosse balls. This is by far one of the most effective treatments for any kind of foot or ankle pain. And I'd recommend getting two as it's more effective. You're gonna foam roll everything except for your heel because you can't, there's no muscle in your heel, so it's pointless. We're gonna check out your whole feet, and then we can check out the calves as well. With foam rolling and trigger point testing and myofascial release, we wanna start closer to the center and then move farther away. Checking out the calves. Is it tight? Where is it tight? Make a note. We're looking for patterns. We're looking for, to build awareness of how your body feels. If the foam roller is easy or you don't feel much, then use a lacrosse ball. And that would be a full introduction to trigger point testing and myofascial release. I hope this was helpful. Like, comment, subscribe. Love you guys. Peace.